Hey guys, Daniel here for Escaping Network. With everything going on in the news right now, we want you to know that we stand with those out there protesting for change. It's only going to happen if we all let our voices be heard and stand together. This is a very important time for all of us. So if you or someone you know needs help with resources or effective ways to cause this change and ways that we can donate and our listeners can help, please reach out to us at escaping.podcast@gmail.com or on our Facebook or Instagram pages. We stand with you and hope that together we can make this a better place. Thank you, and now on to the show. When you're living your best life,
or at least trying to,
you're gonna have moments where you and another person have overlapped sexually.
Yes,
it's like happens. The 5 degrees of separation.
Yes. Well, this is the 5 degrees of sexploration. Nope, hate that word. That sounds wrong. 5 degrees of sexploration. Better? Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. Welcome, guys, to another episode of Escaping Podcast.
The best podcast in Colorado Springs when it comes to all things geek, nerdy, and everything in between.
And by everything in between, he means the distance between a witch and her cauldron. Is it a lot? Is it a little? It should be a little. Don't leave that cauldron unattended. Today, we are talking about mythology. It's part 1 in our mythology series. As always, I am your host, Daniel Rojas, joined by...
Kels for Show, a.k.a. Chill Metheus, the Titan of Cool, the one that blessed the mortals with the gift of swagger.
Oh my God, isn't that what they said in The Sandlot when they were talking about Babe Ruth?
The Sultan of SWAT, I believe. Yes. The Great Bambino.
The Great Bambino! And with us as always, or at least as best you can,
Michelle with no intro.
Yay.
You know, at some point, the with no intro becomes your intro.
It does.
It's a whole thing.
That's the beauty of it.
Oh, it's great.
I was just thinking the other day with Kelsey, is like, at some point on your gravestone, we're going to have so many nicknames on there. It's not going to fit.
It's going to be a graveyard full of all my AKAs, and you got to figure out which one I'm actually burying.
Yeah.
But this is a surprise.
I'd be like, we need a GoFundMe for a second headstone.
Yes. Hell yeah.
No, the worst part is he'll have all these graves, which will have a piece of him around the world, and it'll be like a Horcrux. We're going to have to kill all of the pieces of him so that way he can die.
Word.
Oh.
That sounds fun.
Doesn't it, though?
He's going to come back and fight us.
I would never.
Either us or, our next generation of kids, you know.
No, yeah. I would never. I'm too passive for that.
Maybe we should leave the next generation to deal with his spirit.
Exactly.
We'll leave him in peace.
Oh, boy. So, speaking of mythology, guys, what are some of your favorite pantheons or genres of mythology?
Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, I love world mythology and world religions, studying all of that. I mean, from the Egyptians, and to the Greeks and Norse, all of it. It gets really interesting, and I think things with mythology is, if you listen to the stories, they never have a happy ending. So it's more like real life.
Really?
Well, at least the original ones before they came in and said, oh, you know what? We do need to give them at least some kind of payoff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think, the reason I say that I still believe in the old gods and that way of thinking with religion is because before we started conquering one another, all of us, if you look back, have very similar origin stories, apocalypse stories.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, how did we all come to that conclusion without having known each other?
Well, and the Great Flood that's documented all over the place.
Word.
Yep.
That's wild. The fact that dragons in all these different cultures that weren't communicating with each other were depicted.
Yeah, that flood story is from Mesopotamia till
ancient Sumeria. Yeah.
Like you're talking about the dragons because you have the Japanese and the Asian cultures and the depictions of it. Then you have like the Eastern Europeans and what they thought those dragons were, how they described them and even drew them. So it's just interesting, like if these large lizards were actually around sometimes, how much of that was taken from reality and how much was just interpreted or their imagination.
Right. No, exactly. And we were talking about this earlier, but even in the depths of the ocean, we have no idea what's down there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And
that whole spooky.
Do you believe in the whole Atlantis?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
I do.
Yes, and I wouldn't call that mythology. I'd call that lost history.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
Well, they still say, does it really exist? Does it not? Was it just a story?
like subterranean cultures, like underwater civilization organisms that are human-like. I can't think that does not exist. Just how vast everything is above the ocean and on land. How we're so eclectic with all these organisms, and then you just go into the ocean, and every year there's like some new species that's found, and the fact that there's so much of that that's unknown to us, the possibilities are endless.
Well, and that's what terrifies me about the ocean. It's a like a reverent kind of being terrified. You know, I'm afraid of it, but I respect it, and I would not want to put any human down there because I know what we do. I know how we go.
Yeah.
But you know, before we really dive into this mythology stuff, the whole idea that life went two different ways. One went towards the light, one went down into the darkness. Yes. And just because we can't survive in that kind of compressed area, there's still life that can.
Yeah. I mean, do you see the deep water fish?
That
their own, like, light source and everything. Like, ugh.
Exactly. They eliminate themselves from the inside. And then, because a lot of people, we all are trained to think that the aliens come from above. Like, they actually could come up from the ocean floor. Because talking to different people that, you know, been in the Air Force or the Navy, and they not constantly, but they've seen enough things that come out of the water that they don't know what it is. And it doesn't land in it. It goes out the water, it goes right back down. Yeah. So it's like...
I'm waiting for a Cthulhu to come out. You know, and when I say a Cthulhu, I know that's probably me being awful, like a Bigfoot. Like, it's a different species, like a Sasquatch, whatever a Cthulhu's, species is. I do believe that, you know, down there communication had to evolve at some point and then became telepathic. And that's why you see octopi coming up and going back down, and they're just...
You could treat echolocation or sonar as a form of telepathy because they're communicating with the wavelengths, and it bounces off, and all it has to do with protons and electrons as well. So it's one of those fascinating things. Like I've always liked learning about as a kid, like watching Animal Planet, just seeing how these different creatures have evolved and how they communicate with each other, and just how science and even like the atoms, even like the salt in the water plays a part into how the currents are carried, or even like a shark can smell a drop of blood like miles away just because of how it flows and how they're designed. So to sit here and think like, nah, no way something could be down there intelligent, XYZ is just ridiculous.
I mean, even in the underworld, I mean, not in the underworld, but in Mayan world, when they were talking about the underworld, and there's like the 8 different sections, and there's cave.
My God, yes!
But it's interesting because you look at cave life now, too, and there's things that live in like acidic water that we can't even go into. So it's like, how did they come up with these? Was it based off something that they know about, or, you know?
Well, and I you know, like I said, with all the mythology stuff, I believe that there came a point where those types of creatures, those mythological creatures, realized we need to go in hiding. We need to hide ourselves and close that veil from the mortal realm.
Right? Like Percy Jackson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Word, because, we see how humans are with just humans.
Yeah.
Like I always go back to, like, for example, Martian Manhunter on the Supergirl TV series. He's like, yo, I know how it feels to be not like everybody else. I know how it feels to be ostracized just the way I look, because I'm a green alien, but I'm in this disguise of a black man. So I get why people just feel like they just can't be them alien selves when humans themselves can't get along with each other. So it goes back to that. Like, human beings, they fear and hate what they don't understand. If you're not like them, they're probably going to kill you. And take your resources and eat your meat.
And how many stories have you seen where like the creators are so disappointed in their creations? So it's like maybe they're like, bail.
Yeah, no, definitely.
We're the baloney. Like, I ain't even try to make this shit. Damn, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So, Kels, what's some of your favorite mythological realms, pantheons?
Oh, for first and foremost, my favorite would have to be the Greek pantheon, like Zeus and all them. That's probably like the most famous. So that's the first one that I can remember, knowing that it was something outside. I guess you could say the traditional Jesus, God, Jehovah, Holy Trinity type God. Because
even in world religion course in college, they started with Greek mythology.
Yeah, so it's like one of those, like, once you, because I was kind of not raised Jehovah's Witness, but that was the first religion I was introduced to and learning about Christianity and things like that. But then once I realized, there are other guys, like, your mind's open as a kid, then you get taught that in school. Because I remember, like, middle school, like, there's a Greek pamphlet, and we got to color it, and we learned about it. I was like, wait, each one of these has an ability that they're god of. Poseidon, the ocean; Zeus, lightning and thunder in the sky. So on and so forth. Then I was like, oh shit, they're like the X-Men or the Planeteers. Like they all have superpowers. So I was like, this shit's like some comic book shit. Like,
Yeah.
So that what brought me in. And with mythology, it's like that was the comic books of his day. If you want to make that parallel, so it's like, yo, these are the superhero tales. If they were paper that we had, they've been written down, they were drawn and being depicted in this way. And then also growing up in the '90s, then you had Hercules, that TV series with Xena spinoff from Kevin Sorbo. So I love that shit.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
God, I remember watching those all the time.
oh, Saturday
Yeah.
afternoons on Fox, like you can't keep me away from the TV. Well, you really can't. Really, but it's like one of those. So it was the first one, the biggest one. So that's what the one I gravitate towards the most. And then you have like the parallel to that being the Roman gods, which is basically the Greek gods with the planetary names. So you get your Jupiters, Mars, and Venus, and then being an anime, or again introduced the anime. I guess you could say with Sailor Moon. Each Sailor Scout was named of the planet. So I just tie that in together with each other. So it's like, yeah.
It's interesting too, like when we see it in media, how Hercules is this one being, or Hera is this way, and I mean Disney Hera is so peaceful. I'm like, you do realize like she hated every
Oh my god.
kid that Zeus had bore that was not from her. She
Yes.
tried to murder.
Oh.
She was
Exactly.
just the most jealous wife, even though she was the goddess of marriage.
Of course,
she
which
had her
is
opinion on it.
Well, and there was
always
even
interesting.
Yeah.
there was even a point in there where Zeus and Hera show up to a man to ask him a question, basically like, who's better, me or Hera? And he's like, fuck, I don't know how to answer this. This is a trick question.
Yeah.
And he answers Zeus, and Hera curses him, and Zeus is like, oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah. Or Hephaestus when she got pissed off at him and then threw him off of Mount Olympus and he became a cripple. Like, okay.
That makes sense. If you fall, you hit the ground. You ain't gonna walk.
Yeah, she was quite the angry one.
Yo, that's
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And yeah, so that's my number one. But then, like, outside that, of course, I'm definitely a fan of Norse mythology, mainly because Thor is my favorite non-X-Men superhero. And just when I realized, like, oh, he's the god of thunder and lightning, that's when, like, I don't know if you want to classify lightning and thunder as an element, but that's my favorite natural event. Like, I hate the rain, but I love just watching lightning and thunder. If I could get high on a mountain or a roof and just watch that shit, like, I absolutely love that shit. So once I found out that Thor was that guy, I was like, that's my guy.
Yeah.
So I love that shit. And then once I started learning about his actual Norse roots, it's like, oh damn, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby said, nah. We're not gonna do that. We ain't gonna do that. We gonna make him a little more Steve Rogers-esque.
Homogenized.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. What about you, Daniel? Like,
Oh, so, I mean, I guess you would call it mythology. I definitely would, but Slavic folklore is my absolute favorite.
so
Okay.
to interject, how would you differentiate mythology versus, like you were saying, folklore?
So,
Is there a
with
difference
that,
in-
I mean, for me, when you're talking about mythology, you're mostly talking about gods and the like, you know?
Yes.
The higher ups. With Slavic folklore, these are cryptids and supernatural beings in our realm that are part of the everyday, even if you don't see them. Creatures like Koschei the Deathless, Baba Yaga, and heroes like Ivan and Vasilisa. And there's so much. There's even these spirits of different times of day, different seasons, different fates. It's
What's the Japanese whiskey one? Where
Oh.
no. I'll have to think of the name. But yes.
But yeah, with the Slavic folklore, there's always a lesson to be learned, much like the old Grimm brothers, you know, stories where it's like, hey, don't go into the forest. The forest is evil. Why is the forest evil? Because we keep chopping it down and we've made it that way.
Ah, okay. So
So these aren't really gods.
Yeah.
These are beings far more powerful than your average Ivan.
So mythologies would be more like the overall reason why things are how they are, and then folklore would be more slice of life.
Yes.
Examples like
Like, you could be going about your day and happen upon Baba Yaga's hut.
yes,
And, ooh, depending on what story you're in, that's going to be a bad one most of the time, but a few times, she may give you some wisdom and not kill you.
Yeah.
word, because that's what like one of the jokes I remember making at one of my friends' house back in high school. I'm not gonna put any names out right now, but I was like, yo, you know, the main difference between like, you know, Jesus and Hercules is Jesus had a better publicist.
Ooh.
Because they're basically like more or less the same story. It's like what separates the Bible
That's a good way of putting it, actually.
the Bible
I like
from
that.
actual mythology, because they all teach you stories. They tell you how the world was created. So it's just like, who got to say no? This is actually what happened. We
Well,
learn from them versus these are myths.
That
and
does come from
legends.
when they took away the Enochian texts.
And what is that?
Oh, the Book of Enoch and the like of when the angels, the sons of God, saw the daughters of man and lusted after them, came down and mated with them, giving birth to heroes of the land, giants, and monsters.
You
Just
have to
like in
read
the
Book of
Bible.
Enoch. It's pretty amazing.
Just like the Bible. Just like in Greek
Exactly.
mythology.
Exactly.
That's what.
But somewhere along the lines, all the texts that were there were whittled down. And then even further down the line, you had someone named King James who changed the
LeBron.
language of all of it
Yeah.
and added at the very end, no one gets to take away or add to this, while he, just watered down what is a beautiful mythology.
Yeah.
It's great.
And there was that exception of no, we don't want polygods. This is now done away
Monotheistic.
with. Yeah, did away
Polygods
with.
mean multiple gods. Mono means just
Well,
one.
and the fact where you had gods of harvest, gods of the moon, gods of the dance,
Yeah.
and somewhere along the line they said, okay, what about God? God of what? No, just what about God? It's
And
all
I
of
think
it.
my opinion is they did that to make themselves unique from the others, and
Sure,
then try to
yeah.
determine, hey, we are the righteous religion.
We need the
and
supreme pizza of
That's what makes
godhood.
it. That's what changes it from a mythology to a religion. Because in mythology,
Mm.
you have all these different sources. You have all these different beings that embody, again, the dance, the harvest, the moon, the mating, the ground, the soil, my hands, your face.
Okay, so because back then, like we talking about the Greeks, you take your offerings to like Demetra, is that the word of the harvest, or you go like,
Demeter.
oh yeah, Dieter, thank you, or you go like, yo, I'm trying to get lit tonight. Let me talk to
Bacchus, maybe.
Bacchus, maybe, like here's an offer to you.
Dionysus.
Dionysus will be that guy
Yes.
who gets you.
Or
Like,
Hedonis
fucked up.
Bot from Futurama. It's like, here's this. Let me have a good time versus like, no, we're gonna take everything and just give it to this one. Like, I want to specifically speak to this god about this thing. Like, we need to pray to Ares. We need to go to war. We need to bang this thing out. Because some people
Or maybe a little bit of Pan if you want to get freaky. in
yeah,
there.
Exactly. But
can't have Peter without the pan, baby.
not to harp on religion because you know how much I hate doing that. But I think giving one God all those different, things, it's not going to work.
It took away from so much, I think. And I think it worked so well with the polygods, and I still believe that's the truer way, but I'm not pushing religion on anybody. But people feared more. They were like, oh, well, I don't want to do this because you'll piss off that god, or you'll
Right,
piss
right.
off even the god of weaving, the goddess of weaving. I don't want to piss her off. I'll be turned to a spider.
Exactly.
Things like-
And the fact that she knew it was the goddess who was tricking her.
Yeah.
Like,
And so they were cautious, and they had, their sacrifices and a respect. And the thing with mythology is the gods weren't portrayed like this almighty being who had no faults.
No,
The
they
gods
were
had faults, and it
very
was very
faulty.
transparent.
Yes.
And so you could still respect them because they're powerful, but at the same time, hey, they have their flaws just like we as humans do.
exactly.
Well, and kind of something I want to, tee up for you here, Kels, but the fact of Cronus eating the babies because of what was told to him would happen, and then Zeus doing the same thing later on to his kids, and it being this vicious cycle. Can you tell me more about that?
Oh yeah, because like the whole Greek pantheon all started with like the Titans. They predate the Olympians because Uranus the Sky Father, the god of the sky or the heavens. Then Gaia was the Earth Mother, Earth Spirit. They had children, and Kronos was the son of that outcome. And Kronos was the son, one of the Titans from that outcome of their relationship. And plus, there's other people or deities you could say that came from it. I want to say like the Cyclopses, and
Oh, yeah.
there was the Giants. They came from that, but they came to a point where for some reason Kronos banished the Giants and the Cyclops, and Gia didn't like that shit.
Gaia.
Gia.
Well,
Gaia. Gaia didn't like that. That's an inside joke, guys.
he says it's a joke, but goddamn the migraines I get every time.
Because I mispronounced it perfectly just to fuck with him. So that's why I did that. It's reflex, but so she didn't like that shit. So she told her kids to castrate Uranus, and Kronos was like, bet. So basically, he went and did that shit, and then Uranus was like, all right, so you gonna do this to me, you gonna overthrow me, you gonna shit on our whole legacy, this, that, and the third. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Your son would do the same thing to you. And Kronos was like, nah, fuck that. Killed them, so on and so forth. Then, as Kronos started having his kids with Rhea, he starts to eat his kids because during that time, he starts to get a little crazier too. And he starts to hear his father's words. So it's like, oh shit, I did do this to my father.
Do you think he just shoved them in the mouth when they came out, or like he cooked them?
I mean,
I don't know.
I imagine that like they came out and they were so slippery from coming out that they could just slide down the gullet.
And it's
Makes
me too,
sense.
because I'm like, did they get
Were
that?
they already full grown?
Exactly. I always assumed visually they were full grown.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
maybe he ate them like metaphorically, like absorb their energy or some shit, or as Attack on Titan style, just pick them up like.
Well, that's the thing. It's like my grandma always said, eat enough baby meat and you'll go crazy.
Word, human flesh consumption
Where
give
you
you the
got your
rickets.
grandma?
Well, she's not here anymore, so.
Boosie Eli taught me that shit. That's how you get the rickets. But yeah, so that happened. And then, so when Kronos started eating his own kids, Rhea hid Zeus at the time, which was her youngest, on Earth, and he was basically raised by a goat. Yeah.
Which was great because he doesn't even know he's a god.
Exactly.
He's just, he's Donald Blake, you know?
Yes.
Thor, where he's
Thor's
just walking
alter
around
ego.
like, something's not quite right, but...
I don't know. I have a lurking suspicion. And then what's so ironic about that, like, Zeus becomes like Cronus, like, cup holder, and he like pour him drinks and things like that. Then he ends up realizing who he really is, and then he asserts Kronos.
Well, because even, I want to say, it wasn't the Fates, but it was kind of like the Fates.
Yeah.
The Seers, they were like, hey.
The Oculus?
Yeah, and they're like, hey, some shit you're going to want to know, and you're going to find out really soon. But doesn't that guy up there that you're cup holder to, doesn't he look pretty familiar? Like, if you were to look in a mirror, doesn't he kind of look like someone you know?
Oh, shit. Yeah, and so, like in all fashion, Zeus ends up defeating his father, becoming the new king of the gods. And
Didn't he use a slingshot with stones or something inside of him?
I believe that was David.
To get him out? No,
Yeah, inside. Well, it wasn't a slingshot. It's that he kept replacing the babies and the things with stones.
Oh, yes.
So that way he's
yeah.
eating them because Kronos doesn't even know.
Yeah,
Yes.
got it.
And that shit happened, which is also ironic because the same shit that Zeus did to Kronos, Zeus was doing with his own kids. Because, like, he was birthing them out their brain, but at the same time, he was eating some, he was killing some. And depending on what you read, he was having sex with some. And then you get, like, Hercules. And he didn't, depending on what you read, too. Hercules didn't know he was from Zeus either.
Hercules.
Well, I mean,
Exactly.
because Aphrodite came from the castration.
Yes.
Because the balls went into the ocean.
Which was wild.
Made the foam. There came Aphrodite.
From balls rises the goddess of love.
And she comes up and everyone's like, hey...
What up, girl?
Hey, reverse Little Mermaid. Hey, reverse Seafoam Woman.
You know, and the sad misconception is people think that Aphrodite means love too. Like she's the goddess of love. I was like,
desire.
No,
even.
just desire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can be.
And
Venus,
I guess
I'm your
desire
fire.
and love, because marriage and that long term comes from Hera.
Right, but with the desire, she definitely did know at certain points when to play it to her favor.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm your fire. I'm your desire. I'm your woman. Song Venus from the 80s.
I remember, Aqua.
Venus,
it wasn't Aqua.
No, because Venus is the Roman equivalent to Aphrodite. So
We
now
were
that's
very
all
amusing to her to watch us.
Yeah, she's like, now put it in that hole.
Yeah.
Now stick it there.
We were the Sims for
Now
her.
just walk away and don't call them back.
Absolutely, yeah.
She invented ghosting. Oh my god! I might have to have some words for Aphrodite, like straight up.
You probably already have.
Yeah. She probably saw you in the dream and was like, I've told you, and you keep doing it.
Or you ran into her at a bar and she says, I know where you've been. How you doing? Why don't you come over here and talk to me?
Or she was the madam of the geisha house that was in a previous life.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aphrodite.
And that's why you were never...
That's why I'm never happy now. I'd fuck Aphrodite over.
Oh, man.
Damn, I should have got that money.
What about you, Michelle? What's a story that really sticks out from that mythology that you like?
So one... I'll start with Orpheus and Eurydice.
And we're not talking about Dr. Orpheus from Venture Brothers, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, shit.
I'm going to touch on Norse, which is a really funny story. This one is more tragic, where it's Orpheus and Eurydice. So Orpheus, he was on the mission with the Argonauts, the journey.
Oh, yeah, with the
Argonauts.
ship, the Argo, which people don't realize could talk. It could talk.
I realize that.
It's such a... because it's able to talk, and it does it like maybe twice.
So he was the one who is the most amazing instrument player. He played the lyre, I think.
He played it while he leered at people, so it works.
And it would put people in trances, and they loved him. So he fell in when he got done with that mission, he came and he fell in love with Eurydice, who's a tree nymph.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
When it comes to nymphs,
you're out in the woods, and I'm sure she's dancing around naked, like, hey, let's get married.
It's like, I don't know if you've seen Fantasia 2000.
Yes.
And at the very end, the goddess of like, or the spirit of the earth, and she's like just banging.
Yeah.
I get it. Let me just say, I understand Orpheus.
You would have proposed.
Uh-huh.
And so, they get married. You think it's going to be a happy marriage. Well, it doesn't even make it past the wedding night.
Oh, my God.
Because she gets bit by a snake and then goes to the underworld. Well, Orpheus was all like, well, I need to get her back. Like, that's not happening. And he goes into the underworld. He seduces everybody in the underworld till he gets to Hades by playing his instrument. And it even puts the three-headed dog Cerberus into a trance.
Which, is one of the little things, and you know what? Sorry, fuck you, J.K. Rowling these days, but in Harry Potter, the first one, it's the music that puts Fluffy to sleep.
Yeah.
Because it's him and...
Yeah.
Oh, shit, they did have the Cerberus in Harry Potter, too.
Yep.
Three-headed dog, but a man can't become a woman, though.
Yeah, right, yeah, thanks, J.K. Rowling.
I know, she's got some... That's another thing, but yeah, she's got some heat underneath her right now. So then he gets to Hades, and... he makes a bargain with him.
Or a bargain with him?
No.
Not funny.
I quit.
Didn't say it was.
Well, because he tempts Hades, and he gives him the proposition, like, please let me have her back. You were once in love. Mind you, Hades kidnapped Persephone. And so he was like, fine. You can get her out if you walk her out of the underworld. But you cannot look back.
Not for anything.
The second you look back at her, she will be gone.
Which is also mirror with that Christian story of Lot and his wife, where they're like, an angel tells them, you know what, fine, you guys can leave this city that we're about to destroy, but you better not look back once. If you look back...
they're thieves.
Yes!
And you turned to Saul, and she did, but then, what city was that?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Because
okay, yeah.
there were homosexuals, they were listening to rap music.
How dare they?
Butt stuff.
Which means I would have been there as the city's burning, just la la la.
And isn't like the scientific explanation, like there was a volcano that erupted, so the people, it was mixed with the salt water in the air, and that literally cover and encase these people in salt. So it's like, no, really, they just bad place.
It was a bad place.
Good place, wrong time.
It's a Vesuvius situation.
It was a Vegas of ancient Greek and Rome back then. Like, yo, you went there to wild, have a good time, gamble, fuck a goat, fuck a sheep, fuck your homie, fuck his wife. There was a lot of sexual influence going on.
Oh, yeah. When people saw that there was an angel there because he was beautiful, they were like, all the dudes came in and were like, yo, I want to fuck that guy. Yeah. And the angel's like, well, I never said no. And Lot's like, no. Yeah. This is one of God's kids.
And the thing, too, angels wouldn't know about their pleasure because they didn't have genitalia. So they're going to believe what dogma taught us.
Oh, my God. They would have gone to the angel, tried to go for the butt, and it would have been a Ken doll.
Yeah, like, whoa, how do you poop? We don't, because we don't get the pleasure of eating.
So Orpheus is trying to walk her back from the underworld.
Yeah, and of course, he's tempted. Let me make sure she's still following behind me. There's noises, there's things going on, and of course he looks back and poof, she's gone. So he's mourning, and he's sitting by the tree playing his instrument, and who do you have to blame but yourself? And the Maenads they come over and they try to flirt with him. They are nymphs that worship Bacchus.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the god of wine.
Yeah, so they try to flirt with him. He turns them down. And they did not take that very well. So they tore him from limb to limb. And throw him in the river.
The river Styx or just a river?
Just a river.
Word.
And the muses at the end of the river pick him up, put his body back together, and give him a proper burial.
They Humpty Dumpty his ass.
Yeah, and now it's a split decision. Some myths say they met back in the fields of Elysian.
Okay.
I think it's Elysian.
Is that the field of the afterlife that was in Gladiator?
It was like their happy field. And they say that they
Valhalla.
met each other again, Eurydice and Orpheus. Others say no, they never got to meet again.
Damn.
I like to believe that they didn't because he broke the rule that Hades had made. Hades gave you one chance. You broke it. I don't think that he gave you another chance to meet her in the afterworld.
No.
But, mythology, that's the thing. It can go back and forth on that one. But I think the main thing with Orpheus and Eurydice, it's like if you take anything from that story is the power of love over death. But at the same time, love will not conquer without trust.
And that trust wasn't there, even though
Exactly.
you could argue that it was his love that made him turn around and see if she was there. But if you truly trust your partner,
You know she's following.
exactly. And I like to imagine that all the the creatures in the underworld that work for Hades, were just back there with noisemakers, test it.
Yeah.
They had sound clips of like, oh no, my body.
And it's like, do you really think Hades wouldn't put that in concrete? I mean, think about how he got Persephone.
Sure, but also, again, think about the creatures that work for him. Like, I'm gonna fuck with this guy real quick.
Yeah.
Hold on. He hasn't turned around yet. Let me make this smacking a woman noise.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll do it for
By
him.
the way, you seduced me with your fucking music, and now you're leaving with no music.
With no music, not even a mixtape.
Yeah.
You didn't even leave me a mixtape or a link to your SoundCloud.
Exactly.
You're just gonna do a whole twerk show on your OnlyFans. They ain't let me
Yep.
re-enter. I got
I
my
would
coins.
too
I got my
be
2 bits.
down there banging like, where's the music?
Right? And it's like no one else down here plays like that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yo.
But I like that idea of love over death, but love without trust doesn't work.
Yeah, I think that's
Word.
and that's like honestly Orpheus and Eurydice. That storyline is what I want tattooed on my back. That story, and I've been looking for a tattoo
How much
artist.
back do you have?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the symbolism you would use?
It
for
would
that?
literally my idea was him walking her out of the underworld, and the stream between them was the musical notes.
Oh, so
But
literally
she
want
is
the
more
text.
faded,
Okay.
and he's more present.
Of course.
But I have to find an artist that can do that style.
Word.
I actually know a few good tattoo artists here in the Springs that I could set you up with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like you mentioned earlier in this episode about the Aztecs and their 8 levels of the underworld, was that like a metaphorical one or the like 8 different caverns?
8 different caverns.
Something like what Dante experienced.
That's what I was getting to, because is
Yeah.
Dante mythology or is Dante folklore?
It's allegorical in a way,
Okay.
Yeah.
but it's also kind of mythology. It's a weird blend.
I think his whole poem, I don't even really think it's a poem. How would we say it?
kind of like what you call it, Beowulf. They
God,
call
it's
it a
on my
poem,
coffee
but it's
table and
not.
I've read it.
Right, it's
Yeah.
not a soliloquy.
We'll think of the word.
Yeah.
But it breaks it down into
Yeah.
and that's the 7 realms of the underworld.
Word.
But I think a lot of it was based on actually human nature. It was like greed, murder, and so
The
the
7
crime
deadly sins.
fitting your
Plus 1.
Yeah, the crime fitting your or the sin
Word.
fitting
The
your.
baker dozens of sinfulness.
What would be the 8th deadly sin? Wearing Crocs with socks?
Yes.
No, it depends on your feet sweat. Like, whatever.
Wearing socks to bed?
I can't do that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
weird.
that's the 8th
That's
deadly
weird.
sin, I'd say.
I think so. Yeah.
The 8th daily sin might be putting mayonnaise on a hot dog.
I don't know what white people bullshit that is.
I don't like mayonnaise anyways.
Good for you. I only like a light layer on my burgers and my sandwiches, but
I'm a
nah.
mustard queen, but
Word.
that's
You
it.
fuck with honey mustard?
Yes.
I fuck with honey
I
mustard.
just started fucking with honey mustard the last like 2 years because it's just weird how my taste buds or how our taste buds evolve
Yeah.
over time.
Is that the same mustard that they give us with the hot dog or the mini corn dog bites? Is that honey mustard?
See,
Then yeah, I fuck with some honey
yeah,
mustard.
but you can't use it like with everything though. Like Well, with me personally, it's on a select few things that I actually like my honey mustard with. Mm-hmm. Word. Hero sandwiches. Speaking of heroes, Hercules, right? I don't know, guys.
It was a walk.
What about you, Dan? What is kind of your favorite story? Your the one that sits in your mind all the time.
There are two, and I'll talk about the other one at some other point because when we get into the villain side of this next week. Mm-hmm. But that'd be the story of Koschei the Deathless, who is basically the Ice King from Adventure Time.
Kusho the rabbit dog.
Yeah, close, but not really.
I don't think I'm familiar.
Oh, don't worry. Next week.
So there was a dog that got beat by a bat, right?
I think Dan's going to tell this story.
I almost didn't want to let Kelsey tell the whole story of Cujo, because that is a great story.
I bet they wish Michael Vick was there then.
Oh my God.
Anywho.
So, Koschei the Deathless is basically the Ice King from Adventure Time, but that's not the one that really sticks out to me all the time, because it doesn't have one of my favorite characters, and that character is Baba Yaga. I fucking love the Baba Yaga. So this is the story of Vasilisa the Beautiful. And I will say...
Oh, thank you, Dan.
Oh, yeah. Your name ain't Vasilisa, though.
Oh, the android should be.
The android's name will be Vasilisa. Okay. So, Vasilisa, much like Ivan, were names that were used time and again. They were like the Johns or the Sarahs, you know? And so many heroes in Slavic folklore, while having the same name, are not the same character. This is a Cinderella type story. There is a wealthy merchant, and by his first wife, he has this daughter, Vasilisa, and she's just gorgeous. Like, she has the best parts of both of her parents. You know what I mean? And so around when Vasilisa's 8 years old, her mother dies, and on her deathbed gives her this wooden doll. And she tells it, hey, if you ever need help, give it a little bit of food, give it something to drink, and it'll help you. Which is kind of like a weird thing to say to a kid, but you're also in a Slavic folklore story, so maybe it'll work.
Kind of like Pan's Labyrinth with a little man.
A little bit, yes, exactly. And I'm like, which Pan's Labyrinth?
Oh, yeah, that's amazing, too. Where she was all like,
movie.
you got to feed it a little bit.
A little bit. And there is part of that, except, you know, in that one, she is actually the daughter of the ruler of the underworld. Yeah. In this one, her mom just died.
Yeah. What's better, Pan Labyrinth or Labyrinth with old buddy?
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you
Wait, are you talking about Labyrinth with David Bowie?
Yeah, David Bowie.
They're not even comparable. Like,
but if
I'm just asking the question.
One,
I didn't say all that.
I'm gonna pick the Spanish one over the Bowie Bulge every day. It's because
they're
the
two
creatures.
different stories,
Daniel doesn't like a bulge.
I love a bulge, but I also love Guillermo del Toro's artwork and his storytelling.
They're two
more
different
than
stories, so I have to.
And
say
Jennifer
both.
Connelly in her perfect skin.
Okay, so Vasilisa's father, the merchant, gets remarried, and it's that classic, here's this amazing man who has this wonderful daughter who, you know, was just great, and then he remarries, and it's an evil stepmom with two evil stepdaughters.
Why is the stepmom always evil?
I don't know. It seems like a trope where they're like, don't ever remarry. What are you doing leaving your bounds unless even if your wife died, sir?
Cinderella shit. Okay.
And he's like, do I not deserve love? Oh, you're gonna have love, but it's gonna be with some evil, evil woman.
Yeah.
So I know, I knew it, but we don't have the rights to that.
That's
song.
why I stopped.
So
I learned.
Eventually, her dad, the merchant, has to go out of town for business, and he's like, I'll be gone for like a year, maybe two. And for whatever reason they had in their mind, Vasilisa's stepmom says, cool, sell the house. We're going to go live in this hut out in the woods, and that's where we're going to be. So she takes...
Just her hut?
Just a hut that she bought.
Oh, okay.
So she takes them, and they're doing their daily tasks, and the candles start to go low, and one candle goes out, two candles go out, finally the third candle goes out, and it's getting near winter. So Vasilisa's stepmom kicks her out and says, go get us some firewood or go bring back some fire. You're not coming back in here. You're not going to have a place to sleep until you take care of this. And she's like, my dad would not like that you're treating me this way. What the fuck? And her stepmom's like, but your dad ain't here. So you can either come back in here and get your ass beat, or you can go get some wood. Vasilisa goes out into the great beyond, you know, of the forest. And while she's out there, she sees three different men on horses ride past her. There's a black rider, a white rider, and a red rider. And she's like, I don't know what that...
Is this the apocalypse?
Exactly.
Right, yeah. She's like, this is weird. I don't really know what that's all about. But eventually, she finds a hut. And this hut is unlike any other hut, because this hut is perched on two chicken legs. and crouched down like it's just a sitting chicken. Now, for anyone that knows Slavic folklore, this is the hut of the Baba Yaga. And the Baba Yaga...
I'm truly interested in this because I've never
Really?
heard this one.
Oh, it's so good!
Chicken Hut.
A chicken hut.
I know about Pizza Hut.
Well, and Jabba. But
Exactly.
this hut is so different, and she knows because she's of that time. Oh, shit. This is Baba Yaga's house. But there's nowhere else to go. And the snow begins to fall.
No.
And she's like, no, wait a second.
Winter is here.
Oh, man. Baba Yaga brings her in and says, okay, you want my help? You got to do all these tasks. You need to separate the grain from the rocks. You need to separate the poppy seed from the soil. You need to clean my house. You must make my bed. You must wash my clothes. And you must do this all before tomorrow. Vasilisa, knowing what Baba Yaga is, and knowing what she's done to every other Ivan who's stumbled across her way, starts doing it as much as she can, but she gets worn out. And so she feeds the doll a little bit and gives the doll some water. And the doll's like, listen, we gotta do this. But you should sleep. I'll take care of it. Vasilisa's like, how? You're a doll. What do you mean you're gonna take care of this, you know? And, but she's so exhausted, and when she wakes up, everything is taken care of. And the doll's back to being a doll. Baba Yaga shows up and is like, the fuck? I was planning to eat you today. Because there's no way you did this. How did you do this? And Vasilisa's answer is, oh, well, by my mother's blessing. By my mother's blessing that I did this. And Baba Yaga, hearing the word blessing and wanting none of that, was like, okay, we're going to get you out of here as fast as we fucking can because I don't need anyone with a blessing in my business.
Yeah.
And one side note, Baba Yaga, it was one of the inspirations for Yubaba in Spirited Away. Miyazaki.
Okay.
Yes.
Soon you watch that.
Yeah, so if you need to think of any kind of person like that, it's a great line of thought.
And HBO Max has the entire studio.
Exactly.
Film, so, yeah.
So eventually, she asks,
Not that I'm advertising for them.
So the Baba Yaga asks her, if she has any questions. And at one point, Baba Yaga used these disembodied floating hands to pick up the grain, to pick up the poppy seed, to move around the room. And Vasilisa was going to ask about it, but her doll started shivering in her pocket like, don't fucking do it, don't ask about that. So instead she asks, okay, who were those riders? And Baba Yaga tells her one is the daytime, the other is the nighttime, and the last is the sun. And so as they ride by, so does the time change. So Vasilisa, kind of realizing Baba Yaga did not like the mention of blessing, brings it up again and gives her a flaming skull, like a fucking
Johnny
Blaze. Yeah, Johnny Blaze.
Scorpion.
Yes, and it's this flaming skull that's held by these hands and has an ever-burning coal in it. And he's like, just get out of here, kid. Listen, I was hungry today. I thought I was going to eat you. I'm very disappointed, and you keep bringing up this word that I don't like to use. Can you just go? Really love it if you just, fucking left. And so Vasilisa goes back. And even though it's snowing, this ever-burning skull is keeping her warm.
Yeah.
She gets back to where her stepmother and stepsisters are. And they see her grab the lantern and push her back outside. And Vasilisa's there like, what the fuck? I just encountered the Baba Yaga. Saved you, and you're doing this? So she starts to make her way in the cold, and the doll's there with her. And the house catches fire. Because
she's not the keeper.
And it burns the house, cooking the stepmother and stepdaughters to ash. But it gives Vasilisa a fire to stay warm by. Yeah. And when the morning comes, the snow has melted. Vasilisa goes on, and the doll was always there with her, didn't help her as much, but she does find out later that her mother's spirit resided in that doll. And that's what it was.
I have a question. Have you seen the new Gretel and Hansel?
I haven't.
What, Hawkeye and other chick?
No, that's Witch Hunters, and that was a bad movie.
That was fun.
No, it was the young girl from It.
Yes. And I am not okay with this.
You don't like it.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's the name of the show on Netflix she's on. I am not okay with this.
That was a good show, too.
Oh, yes. And that was, we talked about that.
Yes, with
oh
my God, it's season 2. It's going to
so
be.
Amazing.
I cannot wait.
I watched Raising Dion.
But that,
same shit, but black.
Gretel and Hansel, they changed it from Hansel and Gretel.
Yes.
But you see a lot of symbolism between pagans and witches and all of that. But it was the same thing. She tricked that witch.
Yes.
And so it's almost similar, but not quite.
Well, and that's one of the things I love is when a child or this unwitting adventurer who didn't want the adventure finds a way to be like, oh.
Yeah. Because that witch was like teaching her the tricks, thinking she was creating another powerful being who then used it against her.
Yes. Just like Korra in Avatar The Last Airbender when she learned blood bending. Yo! Avatar's the greatest.
So I love those kind of stories.
Well, and Vasilisa did nothing wrong other than look like her mother.
Yeah.
And the fact that she could outwit the Baba Yaga.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot.
In Slavic folklore, that makes you a goddamn legend for the rest of your life and past. So,
I mean, talking about tricksters, we have Loki.
Yes.
Norse
Tell
mythology.
us about some Loki.
I know you have a salacious Loki story to share with us.
Oh, you nasty.
Yeah.
I know. Well, it's Mr. Rojas if you're nasty.
If we're talking about Marvel Loki, of course. So hot.
Eventually,
Tom Hiddleston.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But Norse mythology-wise, Loki, trickster god, represented by the serpent.
Yes.
But he was also the father/mother, because it depended on how he depicted himself, of Hel, goddess of death, Fenrir, and also Midgard's serpent.
Yes.
But a funny story about him is
and it is very good. It is so good.
And there's multiple ones.
There are so many about him. But I feel like this one, he's not so bad. A hill giant came and was like, I will build you a wall to save you from, was it Jotunheim or the giants? Yeah.
Yes, the frost giants of Jotunheim.
Yeah, and where Loki comes from.
Yes.
And this giant was like, I'll build the wall. I just need to use my stallion. And he's like, and in exchange, I want the sun, moon, and Freya. And it's like, oh,
wait a second now. Hold on.
And my woman?
That's a huge demand there, buddy. And they were like, okay, because Loki said, it's fine. He's not going to get it done. Well, things get very close to being done. And Loki was like, Odin becomes furious. And he's like, oh, shit. It's about to be done. What do we do? And Loki was like, no, it's okay. I have a plan.
Of course, because of course he does.
Yeah.
When does Loki not have at least one or two schemes up his sleeve?
So he's like, I'm a shapeshifter. I'll be a mayor. Because his stallion is the one building the wall.
Not like John, but like a horse mayor, female mayor.
Yep. So he's a female horse, the mayor, and he's trotting along and he seduces the stallion. And of course, things get stalled.
I think you mean the horse things get stalled.
Yeah. Wall doesn't get built. Giant becomes furious. And so, of course, the deal is broken. Freya's not going to be his wife or anything. Problem is, Loki, as the mayor, becomes impregnated by the stallion because they decided to do the nasty.
Yo, why is that horse looking at me like that? Yeah. Hold on a second. Well, and if I
you got to be full committed when you're doing these things.
If I remember correctly, he couldn't outrun the horse.
Yes.
And the other horse overtook him and then overtook him.
Because he was a newly horse.
But he didn't fight it off. He was okay with it.
Listen, once it gets in, you're like, well.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah. I guess we're doing it.
Somebody's in the garage.
And he was probably just thinking, hanky panky, save the world. And then he got pregnant.
Isn't that always the way?
Yeah. God, can't have a one-night stand, apparently. Shh. Kelsey's face if we were recording.
Oh. Yeah, wait till we get video. It's going to be a show for show.
Then he gives birth later to an 8-legged horse called... Dan, how do I say this?
Slutmere.
And
which, everyone hears that, they go, there's no way slut's in the name. Well, it's not just slut, it's Slutmere.
Yeah, with a P.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like slut, but it's Slutmere.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pinot.
As much as Odin was upset, this becomes his favorite fucking horse. It is his
absolute favorite horse.
But Loki was like, you can keep it. You just can't tell anybody how we got this horse.
Do you ever think Odin is riding it and he and the horse have this kinship, knowing that that's the horse's grandfather?
Yeah.
And there's like this
Oh,
bonding.
for sure.
Right? Like,
And I'm sure Odin was all like, hey, guys, let me tell you how this horse came about.
he's had too much mead. He's gone to Valhalla too many times and coming back.
I mean, come on. Is Asgard really that oblivious? He's given birth to the serpent, a giant.
Loki is such a gender defying character in that way, where he's like, listen, I'm just gonna have babies, all right? Okay.
He is male, female.
Yeah.
He's whatever he needs to portray at that time. That is him.
The time was it he and Thor had to dress up as women? Yeah.
Yep.
Like bosom buddies. But also, Odin's a dick, so it's like, hey, you remember that time you got fucked by a horse? You don't see this every time.
Yeah.
I will not let you live this down.
So
It
I
got
think
8 legs.
if we're looking at modern times almost and the discrimination against things with trans or bi or anything, if you look at Norse mythology, everything was so well rounded.
It was just fluid, and whatever it needed to be, whatever it was.
Yep.
Yes.
If they hated you, it's for you, not because of what you do with your body.
Yeah.
or
It was
how you
because
were
of your
born.
character, it's because of
Exactly.
your actions.
Exactly.
Character and yep.
And
Morals.
that's one of the best things about it. Like, people nowadays are more, I guess, interested in these mythologies because of the portrayal in superhero movies and in comic books and in media. Even the Ragnarok show on Netflix, which was low-key amazing.
Oh God, it was
Low-key amazing.
And second season's I don't know when it's coming
We
out.
better
but
get it
it's supposed to.
soon.
I wouldn't say amazing, but I did enjoy it. It was good.
I
That's just
really,
me personally.
really
I
liked
But
absolutely
but
thought it
a
was
show
amazing.
that was amazing though is American Gods.
Yes.
All-Stars.
Oh, absolutely.
That shit.
Yes.
Fucking amazing.
Did you know that?
Well, Neil Gaiman is a fucking
Yes.
godsend.
Oh, I mean, have you read his Sandman series?
Yes.
That
Mr. Sandman?
Morpheus is another god of dreams, and it's just so fantastic.
Yeah.
But
Black
I know
man.
he's also doing. He just did Norse gods. He did American gods. He's doing Norse gods, and I think he's just going to make his way through the pantheons.
Yeah.
That's gonna be interesting.
Oh yeah. No,
And
no
you
Gaiman
know
knows
what
how
I'm
to
so
do it
jealous of is I forgot what university it was, but he was teaching a semester there, and so students got to go there as Neil Gaiman as their fucking professor.
Oh my god.
So jealous.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, why not Colorado?
Well, and with Neil Gaiman's American Gods, and kind of going back to what I said at the beginning, I believe that this extraordinary world still exists. We
Yes.
just can't see it. Some of us can. Some of us get glimpses, and some of us may be descendants of some of these things.
I believe so.
I believe it exists now, today, just as real, but has adapted to the times. And, other people can believe in Christianity or whatever, they want to believe in. Some people believe that if you send a chain letter,
Yeah.
you won't get bad luck, and that little girl will not come and sit on your bed and
I
eat you.
believe that when a fortune teller
True.
or a shaman, as my family calls them, says that you have sensitive powers or that that's what you're seeing, I believe that.
Yes. Like, my grandmother was a witch. And
A
there's...
Bruja?
No.
I'm just asking the question.
No, you've asked that question before, and I said no before.
I think it's
Evidently,
closer to a shaman in like my culture.
So...
Yeah.
There's definitely a lineage there, but it cut off because of Western Christianity and how that, was a bad thing. But I want to, know more about that. At what point, what were you talking to? What were you communicating with? Did you see any cryptids? I wish I could talk to my ancestors and be like, guys,
Yeah.
what Native American shit do you know?
And Native Americans, I mean, that could be an entire month of podcasts. I mean,
I
their
would love
origin
to.
stories are insane, but so creative, and also it's really what you study, like what do you believe in? I mean, from the people that were created from the insects, and no disrespect, I don't know which tribe it was that I learned in college, but
That's okay.
So we were created by insects, and we didn't have a mouth or an anus. And so,
Like Kim Jong-un.
so the gods were like, oh, they look like they're in pain. So they used flowers and they made a mouth and they made an anus.
Yes.
And that's how we were able to have that. And I don't know which tribe that was, but it's it was one of the stories that stuck with me in college. And every Native American culture has a different story of origin.
Yes. And it's, there's so much. I mean, the fact that there were animals who, if you look at it, were familiars, but were called spirit animals. But those were the ones that you were
I still call my cats familiars.
Yes, of course. And different cultures have different ways of identifying those animals and saying, that's a part of me.
Yes.
Like in Coco.
Yes, like in Coco.
Yeah.
Which we just watched yesterday, and I cried.
Yeah.
It was
cried
a
too.
beautiful movie.
Yes.
I didn't
Amazing.
expect to cry during that movie, but
Oh wait, was that your guys' first time?
it was my first
No,
time.
that's like
Oh.
my 5th time watching it. That was
Yeah,
my first time.
I know. And I'm like, okay.
And it's a very emotional movie. Yeah.
Remember.
Oh my God, when he's singing it to his
Mama Coco?
Mama Coco, and she starts singing with, and she's just so old, and I'm like,
You see all the little wrinkles. Just like,
oh my God. But with those stories being passed down, with that mythology having been passed down to us in modern day, you can't look away from it.
No.
And if you do, then you are willfully accepting a much less extraordinary world.
I agree.
yes.
So coming to the end of this, guys, what's something you would recommend in this genre, in this level of learning more about these mythologies? And of course, where can the people find you? Thank you so much for being here every week with me. I really do love you guys.
Yeah. I would think, so when I took world religion in college, my teacher was reading the Percy Jackson series to her kids. Do they fictionalize it a lot? Yes. But it's a great introduction to your young adult teenagers or young children.
Right.
It's a great introduction to be like, hey, there's this world, this religion. And then, I would encourage children or adults, young adults, or even older adults to just go explore other religions, their beliefs, whether it's Buddhism or, ancient gods or, current Catholicism or Christianity and how it came about. Explore that into a deeper meaning to understand religion. Don't just take it off of what you've been told. Like I've said before, on where the caption's at, it's all about doing your own research.
And that's so important. And I'll add on to that. If you're looking at Christianity, you have to read the Enochian texts.
I
You
agree.
absolutely must.
Book of Enoch is amazing.
It leads up to why the world was flooded in their mythology. Because without that, you go one day everything was good, and then it was Wednesday and everything went to shit.
Yeah.
But the Enochian text is like, hold on, we may have had something to do with that.
Yeah.
Did you watch Russell Crowe's Noah?
We'll talk about that in the last episode.
Cause that shit was a fucking anime.
I don't think I did.
It was all over the place.
Well, and if you read the Enochian text, you'd see what they were talking about.
So the Bible is an anime.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you text that to me and I'll remember to watch it?
Oh, yeah, and I'll also make sure, because this series is going in a different order of, like, today we're talking about our favorite mythologies, telling some stories. Next week, we're talking about the heroes and villains in our favorite mythologies and where that overlap is. The week after that, we're going into comic books, which is the core and, the foundation of what this podcast is about and the representation there. But, folks, on the last episode in this series,
Media.
we're talking about the best of the worst. We're talking about the movies, the TVs, pop culture that has portrayed these stories in some of the best, worst ways.
Oh, Clash of the Titans.
Wrath of the Titans, Dwayne Rock's Hercules. We'll get to all of that in a few weeks. But, Kelsey, what would you recommend for folks looking to do more research on mythology?
I would definitely recommend, like I said earlier, briefly about American Gods on Stars. It's a fantastic series. Neil Gaiman wrote the book. It's been adapted into a comic book, and the TV series is superb. The acting's great. The writing is there, and the messages that that he puts out there still reigns true today if you're able to open up your mind. And then you had Orlando Jones, who was on there, and he did this whole monologue about blacks in America, and he plays a Nazi, the African spider god, and he's on the slave
yes.
ship, and he
I
just
loved
tells
him.
them about where they were, where they're at, and how their legacy continues
I hear he's
in
not
America.
coming back.
Oh yeah, there was like some internal beef.
That's something you'll have to look at.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
a whole thing.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
whole thing.
Which I was really sad about because he's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Oh my
killed
God.
that. And
Yes.
it's like one of those monologues that you watch. He's like, especially in this climate that we're in right now, like if you can watch that and listen to that and still feel any other way, like damn, yeah, we gotta do better as a people, not just black, white, but everybody together
as humans. But that's also something that the gods and mythologies are like, are these guys ever gonna get it?
No.
And we're like,
and time after time we don't.
Time after time.
Like we constantly are always taking steps forward. It's definitely better now than it was 10 years ago, and we continue to be. But we have to continue to move forward. We just can't get complacent and like, no, we're good. No, there's always gonna be room for
and moving forward means not holding hate in your heart.
Yes,
absolutely,
exactly.
absolutely.
Knowledge is power.
Where can the people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Kels for Show. You know what it is, and yeah.
I forgot to ask you, Michelle. Where can the people find you?
Oh, Emily Gideon, and that's on Instagram, or Michelle Gideon on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. And Dan, what about you?
Oh,
Your favorite
he's
go-to mythology research?
One of the ones I've been loving for years now, and I found it right before I took my road trip to Texas and back, and let me tell you, listening to this on
Texas is in a whole other world.
Oh yeah, but when you're driving, you know, maybe 13 hours one way and 13 hours back.
Yeah.
Having this podcast was my saving grace, and that's Myths and Legends by Jason Weiser.
Yes, it's amazing.
Every week, the deep dives he does and the way that he uses modern vernacular to tell you these stories. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things. I look forward to every week getting a new story or new installation in a series, and he's fantastic. Please go check that out, Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts. And if you comment, let him know that Escaping Podcast sent you.
Yeah.
Because we love him here.
Yeah. He's amazing. I love it. It's one of those educational, but at the same time, it's in layman terms. It doesn't lose you.
It doesn't lose you at all. I've been losing myself in his Robin Hood series. Just all the ones throughout. I didn't know all that about Robin Hood, and it's so cool. And the way he describes it is, you know, stories you think you know, but that have a different origin, or stories you're not familiar with that you really should be. And like I said, every week is fantastic.
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook, Daniel Rojas, Instagram, Blue Morpho, one word where the O's are zeros. You can find us and our podcast on Instagram, Facebook. We're not on Twitter yet because we don't really fucking care about Twitter, so you know.
Yeah, I don't.
But under Escaping Podcast, please let us know what your favorite mythology is. What your favorite mythology story is. Comment, subscribe, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Today, we are going to leave you with When I Get to the Next Town, I Don't Know If You Will Write by Dear Rabbit. You've heard Dear Rabbit on our show plenty of times before. Such good music by Rents. He's an amazing man. He's here in the Springs. If you've ever had an interaction with him, you know your day has been better. If you or anyone else you know would like to have your music used on the show, please email us at escaping.podcast@gmail.com. We love you guys, and we love doing this for you guys. We'll see you next week for part 2. And remember, you're beautiful, and there can only be one chum bucket.
Word. And always, if you're feeling like the world is constantly on your shoulders and you need to break the chains to free yourself from Taurus, you can always be an escapee. Stay on cannon, y'all.
This world is a big place. I don't know if I'll see you again. Maybe you will be my best friend. Maybe this is where it all will end. But would you, right now, just hold my hand? Would you right now just hold my hand? I don't know if I will be your man, but tonight, right now, will you hold to the next town. I don't know if you'll write me a letter. Tomorrow is a new day. Maybe it will be better when I cross to the next state. I don't know if you'll write me a letter. I don't know if I will be your man, but tonight, right now, will you hold my hand? I don't know if I will be your man, but tonight, right now, will you hold my